Oh, you damn right. Let's go. Orange Bloods live on a Thursday, and cross your fingers. The technical issues are continuing for Jeff Ketchum, but he swears he can do it. It just might take a few reboots. So we thought we would get started and jump in. His sister from Not Another Enchilada, Michelle, says the Woodlands is an amazing place to live, but I always had insane issues with the Wi-Fi when I lived there. Something in those trees, man. Feel like that's why Ketch is always having problems. Michelle, it's an interesting theory. My time out in East Texas, it was like cable issues, and you're right. There's maybe something technical with all the trees, but hopefully we will get Ketch on. A lot of Texas stuff to talk about today, recruiting-wise. Dre Quinn is going to commit today. The question is he going burnt orange, or what do you call the Clemson orange? Just bright ass Dabo orange. Little Dre Quinn. We talked about Tyler Atkinson yesterday. Number one linebacker in the country is scheduled to come in for the official visit this weekend. There's another commitment announcement this weekend from a big man named Vodney Cleveland. I definitely want to get Ketch's thoughts on that if we can get him all hooked up. Interesting, he's taken a visit to Miami and then supposedly deciding right after that where he's going to go. And I'm seeing some crystal ball thoughts that are leaning towards Texas in that one. So we'll get into that. There's a Jonah Williams update that Anwar threw out on Orange Bloods. It's really interesting. Dia Bell is looking good at the Elite 11. So we'll get all of that going. Feel free to jump in the chat. What's up, Chris Bennett? Hope Washington State is treating you well today. S. Roan pointing out, power outages in the Woodlands. That might be some of those things too. I cannot imagine trying to work consistent Wi-Fi up in your world, Chris Bennett. So speaking of trees, speaking of places where trees are everywhere, S. Roan says it's traffic cone orange for Clemson. That's a bright orange, man. I can deal with Clemson's more than I can deal with Tennessee's. I feel like if I had to live in that Tennessee orange every single day, I think the rods and cones in my eyes would just fry out eventually. I think I could live with Dabo's color if I had to, but I don't. I don't think I can go with the Tennessee. So there's thought as we start today. The Dre Quinn discussion. If you don't know, Dre Quinn, edge out of Buford, Georgia. I'm seeing 6'4", 220 here. The number 13 edge in the country, according to Rivals. And he's going to decide today at 3:30. We're starting the show here live. Supposed to be 12 normally. 12:30 is what we planned. Technical issues pushed us a little past that. But at 3:30 this afternoon, Dre Quinn is going to make a decision. If you check out Football with Friends later this evening, 6 o'clock or so is when they debut their show. They'll have a reaction to what happens there. We'll kind of be previewing things. The thoughts on this one is that it is Clemson or Texas. I'm feeling like I'm seeing more Clemson than anything else. We try to be as honest with you as we can. I feel like, and that's one of the things I love about Ketch and Jason Sukamel and these guys with Orange Bloods that are covering recruiting and the team, trying to be as honest as they can about everything. I feel like if Jason Sukamel had to guess right now, if Jason was on this show right now, I think he'd lean Clemson. Although I think there's some here and there. I think both sides have voices that feel good. But I think right now Jason might lean that way. I don't want to speak for him, but I think right now it's sort of feeling like that. I'll get Ketch's thoughts on it, assuming we can get him hooked up. Obviously, Longhorn Football edits, and many of you will hope that it is Texas. And this one says, I made a badass Dre Quinn edit. I hope it wasn't for nothing. Yeah, see? I hope so too. I hope so too. Longhorn edits, just for your sake. That would be great. Smacking the like button. Mitchell, thank you for that idea. Text guy, I heard 3:30. Now, could that have been a 3:30 Eastern for a Georgia guy? Maybe. But I believe 3:30 is that. So we appreciate you dealing with that. If you get a clarification on that for me, text guy, please let me know. Our man Cody Carpentier, I think, threw that in our chat, and I think he said it was 3:30, but I'm not absolutely certain if that was Eastern or not. Chris Bennett, throwing in a little detail. The 8 a.m. Outsiders is throwing me off. Chris Bennett, we appreciate you adjusting things. We are trying some different things with some of the shows, including the Outsiders, debuting Thursdays at 10 Central. So that is going to be a little earlier out in Washington. We hope you are enjoying it. And Mitchell just says, like the show because we have Chad, right? At least you have me. At least, can you like for that? Just give it a like. That is what it is. All right. S. Roan, maybe for this particular recruit, and maybe not others, don't set your expectations high. You'll never be disappointed. That's a good way to look at it. Okay. Hey, Edit says he's seeing 3:30 Eastern. Okay. Tracy also says tweeted 3:30, so it's Eastern. All right. We'll assume that then. So 2:30 Central Time will be there. Text guy, Sukamel put an OB. Okay, 2:30 Central. All right, that's my bad then. 2:30 our time for Dre Quinn. And again, I feel like right now the prevailing opinion might be Clemson, but we'll get one of the guys to jump on there. Jason just hit me. He's doing some things today, and he may jump on the show if Ketch can't. We'll get you some info either way. The Tyler Atkinson story, you'll want to follow that if you're a Texas fan. We told you about it yesterday, but just to reiterate, number one linebacker in the country is making a visit. This is one of those that kind of, I'm not going to say comes out of nowhere, but is a big deal. An Oregon visit earlier, a couple weeks ago, visited Georgia on the 13th, scheduled to visit Texas this weekend. I don't just see his name. I see his face. Let's put him in his normal spot. Jeff Ketchum, technical engineer supreme, has won. How are you, sir? Yeah, baby. We won't even go. You know what? We won't even go into the details. Let's just recap. We have established 2:30 Central Time is Dre Quinn's commitment time. So as we go back over things, Catch, Dre Quinn for you. I said earlier, I thought if Jason Sukamel had to put his money on it today, he might put it on Clemson and not Texas. Am I off on that? Where would you lean?
Well, I think there was this. It's funny. I'm so glad that you can see me. I really was going to do the audio bit, though, for a bit. We were just going to go empty black box.
I told you. I told you. Sometimes the black box might not be a bad idea. It'd be like the genie from Pee-wee's Playhouse without the face. You could be the new zombie.
FYI, all I did, instead of unplugging and plugging it in 97 times, 98.
98.
Boom.
That was the time. The only thing, hey, Catch, I'm not trying to mess with anything. The only thing I would tell you right now is I feel like I'm hearing you through the microphone on your computer and not your microphone. So if you can adjust that on audio settings, that might be a good idea.
We should be in business.
Ooh, there it is. Those are the dulcet tones I'm used to.
I'm
okay,
really
continue.
Not happy with Restream today. Dre Quinn's all kinds of fascinating to me for like a million reasons. And I'm kind of excited to be able to talk about this before he commits, because I think he's a really interesting prospect. But I think at the root of this, I think this weekend while he was in town, there was a sense that Texas was going to get Dre Quinn. I think there's a lot of confidence that guy was going to be a Longhorn. Since he's left town, there's a lot of buzz on the Clemson side that they're really confident. Texas is kind of quietly confident, but most of the external buzz starting from Monday through 2 hours before he announces has really been towards the Clemson orange more than the Texas orange. But Jason Sukamel kind of outlined on Orange Bloods earlier today, look, kind of the buzz is Clemson. But nobody at Texas is telling us that their confidence levels have waned. So he hasn't changed his future cast, which was set on Texas. But I never put one in for Dre Quinn. And I'm not putting one in because I don't know. Like, sometimes you just hear so much noise that you just have to stop and go, okay, well, what's he going to do? That's kind of what we're hearing. And I think he's really interesting, because as a profile, he 1000% falls into the category of players that I historically fall in love with, Chad. Oh, they're so sexy. 6'3", 225, athletic off the edge. He can't be blocked. He just looks like a demon out on the field, right?
Give me some more of that and go eat some quarterbacks.
Giddy up. And I have missed on more of these guys as a recruiting analyst in my lifetime than any other prospect that I've ever evaluated.
Wow.
And over the years, I have become self-aware of this.
Give me an example of one you fell for that the people
Reggie Wilson.
Oh, God. Reggie Wilson.
He's Reggie Wilson, Chad.
Oh, no. I know exactly what you're saying.
He's Reggie Wilson.
Oh, I can't believe that's the name you came up with. We were sitting next to each other when he did what he did, right? You remember that?
I ranked Reggie Wilson as a 5-star prospect and the number 1 prospect in the state of Texas right up until I flipped him with Jackson Jeffcoat, which ended up being a wise move. But even Jackson Jeffcoat probably didn't have the career that justified. Injuries had a big part to do with that. I mean, he was a Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year, so let's not get too carried away about that being a bust. But like Reggie Wilson, Eddie Jones, they're the tweeners. Shiro Davis was a guy that came from Louisiana. It fits this profile.
Yeah.
Over the years, what I have done is I've looked at the data. So the defensive end position is a position that hits at a higher rate inside the state of Texas and nationally more than most positions, maybe outside of quarterback. Like they hit at high rates among the low 4 stars and the mid 4 stars. Those guys perform in terms of turning into NFL level prospects at the low 4-star range. They're performing at 5-star levels. So and tight end's another position that if you can find them, boy, they hit. When you find a good one, 7 of the 8 highest rated tight ends in the history of the state of Texas all drafted and played in the NFL. Like that is.
And you're saying it's true for this edge position too?
It's not quite that mathematically solid, but it's really high. And so then I dove into those numbers. And what I found was the sweet spot is that if you can find a guy that's taller than 6'4" and weighs more than 240 pounds, it doesn't matter how you rank them. Those guys, more times than not, turn out to be NFL players. When you go below 6'4" and you go below 240, the math becomes very unfriendly. And it is full of And this isn't the first time that you've heard me bring this up before because, Chad, let's see if you can remember how much school of catch that you've been to.
Oh, Lord.
Historically, there are like 4 or 5 guys that have, in the last quarter century, fit the 6'3", 225-ish package and have been absolute slam dunk hits.
Von Miller.
That's one. So before we go any further, freak of all freaks of all freaks of all freaks, NFL Hall of Famer.
Yes.
Just so we're clear about what we're talking about.
That's the one that always pops in my head. What's the other one you always mention? Is it Arakpo?
Yes.
Okay. Those are the 2 that popped in my head.
Colin Simmons is why this whole thing.
Oh, Simmons. Okay. So you're saying there's 4 in your mind right now?
Well, Simmons is the 4th.
Simmons is the 4th.
Kaylavon Chason is another.
Chason from LSU. Okay. The two jump in my head instantly because we talked about Von and Arakpo for so long.
So the reason why this came about was because Colin Simmons is a tweener. He just is. And what we had to do with Simmons was you had to ask yourself, is this guy Von Miller? Is this guy some form of a Arakpo? Is this guy freaky? So freaky that he basically can eliminate size as an issue.
And so far, it's yes.
And so far for Colin Simmons, the answer is, yep, sure looks like he's that kind of guy. So the issue with Dre Quinn, who I love as a football player, Chad, I love him. And look, you know, who does my wife think I'm into, women wise?
Asian women.
I might be. I try to tell her I like all women, including Asian women. I'd buy them by the pound if I could. But I bet Brian Jones has heard that expression before.
What? I'd buy them by the pound if I could.
I love Dre Quinn. I'm being 1,000% honest. Dre Quinn is my type of football playing prospect.
Mm-hmm.
He is so explosive. He is so athletic. He makes plays. You watch his highlight film and you are captivated. However, he fits a physical prototype that rarely hits. It really requires.
Got to be a freak.
Every name I mentioned, freak.
Yeah, freak of a freak. You got. I mean, who's the least of those four? Is it Chason?
Chason was a top 10 pick, though, wasn't he?
Yeah, I think you're right. I can't think. I'm trying to think of how I would like rank those guys.
When did Vaughn go? Wasn't he mid first, like 15th?
Vaughn, I think I think so.
It might have been that Vaughn was the lowest. I'd have to go back and look. They're all first rounders. And they were all freaks in college. Yep. Nobody talks about Von Miller and not as a freak. Nobody talks about Arakpo and not as a freak. Now, Arakpo turned into physically something that Von Miller and Caleb Von Chason didn't. Like, he added so much bulk that it was almost hard to believe that guy was 210 in high school at once upon a time. Dre Quinn is officially listed in the database at like 6'3", 220, 225, depending on which service you look at. He's lower than 6'4". He's lower than 240. He is in this Reggie Wilson package of high school player where, and look, Rivals has him ranked the highest of all of the services. 105, they have him as a 4-star, mid 4-star, 105 nationally. ESPN has him as an unranked 4-star. On3 and 24/7 currently have him ranked as a high 3-star. I mean, I'm just laying it all out there. That is what it will require if Texas gets this kid as a commitment, or even if Clemson gets him. The statistical reality is he's got to be Colin Simmons or Von Miller, or really, really, really good's not been good enough with these types of size, weight profiles.
Yeah. All right.
And when we talked about Colin Simmons, you'll remember we had that one tweet from Real Analytics or whatever it was. And it was like, Colin Simmons' burst off the ball out of 50,000 players is in the top 0.001%. And you're like, Chad,
that's how you do it.
That is literally the type of thing that you need to see associated with a guy when they have that kind of size profile. And you're saying things like, he better be a freak of a freak of a freak. And I think the consensus, in fact, the unanimous opinion on Dre Quinn as a prospect is that he's really, really good, but not a freak of freaks. And so I would tell Texas fans and Clemson fans, hey, man, get excited about this dude because he's a hell of a football player. Just know he's a little bit of a super high payoff lottery ticket, but one that when you scratch off, you're not expecting to automatically win all the time.
All right, let's grab our first super chat. If you guys want to throw super chats in, they'll go to the top. We're going to add another name to the discussion here too with a chat. But first, Juan wants to know the number. $4.99 super chat. Catch him. You look great. How much weight have you lost?
I mean, I haven't weighed myself this week, but probably like 70 pounds.
True, man.
That might be like 5 to 8 pounds too much.
Okay.
The thing is, like I don't know what my maximum weight was. I know what I weighed when I went to get a physical in August. And then I know what I weighed when I had a physical in December. And then I know what I've weighed myself in the last like 6 months. So it's approximately.
There you go. Juan, we appreciate you noticing. You are not the first chatter to do that. Shout out to Mr. Ketchum for that. Got some good chatters to add to the discussion. Oh, look at this. Look what Magic did. Before we can do anything else, how about a 20 spot? $19.99. Catch. Most of the NIL talk is about the revenue sharing / cap. Can you talk instead about how corporate NIL factors? Seems like this would be a big advantage at Texas with their massive following and profile.
Magic, you nailed it. And I will talk about it. Texas is in a way transitioning as much away from the Texas One Fund, the collective. And it has its eyes on tons of corporate sponsors. And so what you will see Texas do with its premier players and talent is steer them into corporate partnerships that will allow them to put together deals. You know, if DAZN, did you know that DAZN network, sports network, calls itself DAZN?
I did know that, yes.
I thought it was just like DAZN. So I've got DAZN up over here in the background, right? And if they wanted to do Colin Simmons to a deal, they'd be able to say, well, what do you guys typically offer as a deal? And they go, oh, well, we pay Tom Brady like $8 million. And then, you know what I mean? What Texas One Fund would get into trouble is if they did a covert Hutto dealership, right? Or any of the covert dealerships, and they wanted to give somebody $100,000, and the market, what they typically paid others was $10,000. And the market value of the guys from a profile standpoint doesn't support that kind of money. And car dealership deals in general don't support that type of extreme deal. So these corporate partnerships should allow the schools, and it's not just Texas, it's a lot of schools. The big boys are all doing this. The best way to kind of circumvent this is to have great corporate sponsors. And it's the thing that I hear from my sources the most on the NIL front these days. Although we'll have some interesting stuff in the war room tonight on orangebloods.com about some of this. It will be NIL related and kind of how much panic in the streets there is over what's happened this week with KJ Edwards and some of the other stuff. So we'll almost certainly talk about some of this on the show tomorrow. But hey, man, who wants to be second to hear anything? Be first. There's a QR code somewhere. Scan that little sucker up there. By the way, Tyler, I like the top. I dig the banner.
Banner looks good. Banner looks good. There's two things in that banner that you've now allowed me to tell people about. You just mentioned that join OB today up in the upper left now. That's where you find the QR code. Get scanned. It's the easiest way to get signed up for orangebloods.com, and you'll be doing it on a perfect day. It is there's a special place in heaven for people who sign up for orangebloods.com on a Thursday because they get an immediate war room dopamine hit that takes them the rest of their lives. It just rides. I mean, they go crazy. So do that with the upper left. Also, in that upper right, you will see a couple of our great partners. Ketch was just talking about great partners. How about Texas Card House? They sponsor the show each and every day, and they also bring you this, Hijack Poker. Go to hijackpoker.com. Anywhere in the great state of Texas, you can play online poker like a beast. Well, it may not be a beast every day, but, Ketch will tell you. It's
Sometimes
great.
It's like a bitch.
Sometimes it's not a beast, but it's a different kind of beast. Hijackpoker.com. Put that app on any device you want and get it going today. day. If you want to jump in the
I'm
chat.
sorry, Chad. Sometimes it's the other B word. It just is.
Sometimes it's a whole nother deal. Thanks to Jay, one of our great super chatters. Jay, thank you for the 5 spot. Catch, didn't you make a joke about corporate sponsors being painted on the field and even on jerseys a few years ago as NIL was starting?
Well, I said I was shocked that we haven't seen. It's really common in European soccer, right? Every team has a sponsor on the jersey, and it's tens of millions of yearly revenue.
And it's like big wide right across the front.
It says Standard Charter, not Liverpool, across the jersey top.
Nope.
It says Standard Charter, or like there's a big ass Chevrolet symbol. And
not the little breast thing like the NBA guys are doing. It's like full across, like this word Southwest on my shirt. It's that bigger.
And what the NBA did was like they were like, hey, we want some of that too. But we won't go because Americans aren't ready for that. They're just not. And you remember, God, the protests in the streets. If instead of, the new ownership bought the Lakers, and if instead of the Lakers across the jersey, it said Mercedes-Benz or,
Well, you remember what the NFL
Lamborghini.
did. Remember the NFL step catch. They did the little breast thing, but only on practice jerseys. So remember when a couple years ago, it was still when Peyton Manning was in the league. There was that started to happen, but only on the practice jerseys.
So Jay, but that is obviously money. That's just ways for the school to generate revenue for themselves. That wouldn't even account for NIL. But what I think it would do is for some of these schools that are like, oh, we don't make enough money to pay our bills, and it's unfair that shut up. Sell some billboards.
Yeah, and this is meant as a joke, but catch, I can imagine that. That's not crazy.
And look, again, I'm desensitized to this. I collect Liverpool soccer cards. Look at this. Hold on.
Yeah, no, this is true. Any soccer fan that's watching right now is laughing their ass off.
Hold on.
We'll get it. S. Roan, thank you for that chat.
Check it out. This is one of my favorite cards, right? It's a Sadio Mane, right? Hold on. I'm trying to get it on camera.
All right, there it is. Got you.
That's a freaking New Balance patch.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm so desensitized to it that in the world of collectibles, it's seen as kind of a badass thing to get the sponsor patch.
And to this idea, catch about HEB, for the teams inside the state of Texas, that would be a connection. You can feel that. NBA does that. When you look carefully at those logos, they matter. They mean something. So like when I saw that the Milwaukee Bucks a couple of years ago had Harley Davidson, I thought that looks kind of cool.
Yes.
Because I already liked the logo, but then I thought, oh, Harley Davidson, it's based right there in their city, and that makes sense.
Jay, just to answer your question, there's still a lot of meat on the bone that colleges have not yet. And look, I think that's true of the NFL as well. And what do we know about college athletics? They like to copy the NFL a lot. And so we're not that far away. We're not that far away from schools going, oh, we're crippled financially, so forgive us if we slap an HEB sponsor on the jersey. They're going to pay us $25 million a year. And you know what everybody's going to say?
Okay. Right? They're going to say, okay. Catch, last year, didn't Texas go to Kentucky last year? I believe they did. That field says Kroger Field, if I'm not mistaken. And it was one of the first fields I remember where I went, oh, look, a corporate sponsor written on the field. And all I thought next was good for Kentucky football.
No, again, look, in 2025, we talk about it with just Orange Bloods. Chad, you're in on the meetings all the time, right? We're constantly like, how do we get creative in terms of maximizing what we're doing? We had a meeting before we came on the air today. It was completely just about how do we make YouTube better? What are we doing? We're talking about constantly evolving.
Yep.
And that's what college athletics is in a state of right now. It's evolving in a lot of different ways. And Jay, yes, I think we'll eventually get to that. And it'll all be in the name of these schools are trying to maximize their earning potential. And they should. They should. Duh. I mean, I just think that is seen as there are a lot of people that clutch their pearls on that kind of stuff. That there are people who would akin that to, did you just throw an American flag on the ground and stomp on it? How dare you? Like, there are people that view sports athletic jerseys
right
as holy grails of sorts. And don't you dare whore out the burnt orange on my watch. I mean, but that really does exist. And the reason why we're not there yet is that the schools have felt like that's a bridge too far.
Yeah.
They have felt like people will riot in the streets if we do that, but I don't think we're that far away from people being like, fair enough. Because you know what? We'll watch an NBA Finals game tonight, and we have stopped noticing that is even a thing.
Yeah. No, you're right. We'll change back to some good chats in on the recruiting front. We'll do that after you hear about the Made in America sale from Specs. See how that all came full circle?
Kick off summer with Specs Made in America sale. We've got star-spangled savings on all your American-made favorites. All month long at Specs. Cheers to savings.
Hell yeah, kids. Put your bomb pops in your drinks if you're 21, of course. Catch, good questions were rolling in as we were talking Longhorn football edits. Could we get Atkinson and Griffin? Jeff let us know. So we were talking about Dre Quinn, and I'll be honest, I mistaken the word Griffin for Quinn. So they're talking about Tyler Atkinson, and is it Xavier Griffin?
Yes.
All right. Give us a thought on these two guys. We talked Atkinson yesterday, number one linebacker who's coming in this weekend, and I think Griffin is as well. Yeah?
Yeah, and there seems to be a lot of buzz about it's a hard thing to kind of talk about because it's expected that these decisions will go later, and there's a sense behind the scenes right now that it's still really early. That it's July or it's June, and next month it'll be July, and they're going to feel the same way. That the lived experience of next year or last year lets them know, man, this stuff gets real serious in November and December. So let's start with Atkinson. I think getting him on campus this weekend is huge, and I'll say the same thing about Atkinson. In fact, I did say this yesterday about Atkinson in comparison with Lamar Brown. They've had Atkinson on campus a few times, so it's not like this will be his third visit in the last 16 months. Good. First, though, in the 2025 calendar year, this needs to be the first of multiple visits for Atkinson. So I think the way that you watch this is a little bit like I was watching Lamar Brown's recruitment last week when he left Austin, and the word coming out of that was, hey, man, he might come back on the 18th. Now, he didn't, but him coming back on the 18th would have been ring the bell.
Right.
That is exactly what Ketch was saying needs to happen.
Yeah.
They'll have to get Atkinson back on campus. So what needs to happen after this weekend is that there's enough of momentum that he says, I'll come back. He's visited places all year long. He just hasn't come to Austin.
Yeah,
But,
and just like Dre Quinn, he's from Georgia as well. Atkinson's from Georgia, so is Dre Quinn.
And the reason why we're talking about November and December, and I'll get to Griffin here in a second, because remember what happened in November and December with Justice Terry?
Yeah.
And this could happen to Texas. So, this isn't like Texas is always, I guess when we do the expression, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. The goose and the gander are even, right? So in this instance, what's good for the goose can be good for the gander, or the gander. I don't know. I apologize for going goose gander on you.
And remember, if the gander's even, he's leaving. No, that's not it. That's it. I'm sorry. I mixed them there. That's my bad.
Thank you, Chad. But I think that we're going to get to November, and let's say Atkinson, let me just give you, Atkinson is committed to Georgia for $2 million a year over 3 years. That's pretty standard going rate. And what if Georgia has commitments from 4 other 5 stars and they're all ranked, or they're all going to get approximately $2 million, right? Because schools like to do this. They don't want to pay one guy more than the other, because Chad, what would that potentially cause?
Oh God, all kinds of talking behind the scenes.
Because these guys show each other their contracts.
Right, amongst the guys, because we've talked about it for a while now. They are showing paperwork.
They're literally on junior days, like, hey man.
Yeah.
I tell you, why listen to me tell you what it's like?
It's literally that.
Look at my contract. This is what it's like. And so that level of transparency is available. So it's like, if one guy were to get 2.5 and you got 5 other guys, maybe a couple of them are even ranked higher than he is, and they're going to get 2 million. They've all got agents. Signing day hasn't arrived yet. Chad, what's going to happen? All 5 of those guys are going to be like, give me 2.5.
Yep, they're going to expect the money, right?
And if 5 guys all want $500,000 more, that's $2.5 million to be able to make that work.
Right. And even one of the big dogs might not be able to press all those buttons at the same time,
because there's only $17 million available in the revenue sharing portion of all of this. And this is where the majority of these deals get stacked. Now, over time, as they get good, Learfield can find them a corporate sponsor that allows them to come off of the accounting for the revenue sharing, because you're much easier to pass something through Deloitte if it's like, well, we got Kelvin Banks a corporate sponsorship for $500,000 and we got 3 of those, so he's going to make 1.5 million, right? Those you can get approved. It's much harder to be like, yeah, this 4-star quarterback, we're going to pay him $500,000 a year. And it's like, well, and how is that not pay for play? Oh, because he's got 7,000 followers on Twitter. And, so this is where the corporate sponsors really come into play. And what I was told about the Texas One Fund, I reported this in the War Room, is the expectation that for the Texas One Fund, I think I don't know the timeline on this. So I don't want to be Kirk Bowles and say some shit that makes somebody go, I'm canceling my Texas One Fund. Don't do that. Don't cancel. Sure, understand if I hear from somebody, hey man, why'd you tell people to cancel? I'm going to say, I told them 10 times not to cancel.
I'll be your witness.
Tyler, if you see this, take a screenshot of Chad testifying.
I'm going to testify.
But I was told that eventually we will see the Texas One Fund morph into a marketing type agency that pushes these corporate sponsorships to players. That is ultimately one of the new roles that will exist, that dovetails exactly into what we're talking about. They're not there yet. The Texas One Fund is still critically important, especially to non-revenue sports. I mean, my God, trust me, nobody's clutching their pearls more, like, be careful what you say here, than softball and baseball and basketball and all of these sports that will depend on non-revenue sharing are dependent on the Texas One Fund. But eventually, I don't know if necessarily in totality, but what it wants to become is a marketing arm for the athletes that allows them to find the deals that will pass through the auditing.
Catch, as long as we're talking about Atkinson, Allen and some others have thrown in. Somebody says, I heard Atkinson has been training and working out with Derek Johnson. Someone else was
that
quoting.
Is true.
Yeah, quoting Jason Sukamel from Orange Bloods, I believe, who had the report about the time. And for those cats that would have the question about Atkinson being from Georgia, but spending a lot of time in Austin, apparently. He's talked about how much he likes the city and hanging out. I guess it could just simply be the connection to Derek Johnson?
I think he's got family. So I think that he has ties. I think he has connections. And then thus he's been able to work. I don't think I'd have to do some homework on this. I mean, I'll be honest. I have followed his recruitment. He hasn't been to Texas this year. So he's always been one of these guys. It's like, I know Sarkisian has a raging you-know-what for this kid. Like, he covets this kid. So much so that the kid constantly not coming here was not seen as a turnoff. He is I'm watching this movie, Marathon Man, with Dustin Hoffman in it. And I'm only like a third of the way through, Chad. It's not so good that I haven't stopped 2 consecutive nights about 20 minutes in. But my favorite podcast is featuring this movie. So like I'm in the middle of it. And Dustin Hoffman's character in this movie does this thing where he steals a woman's address, follows her home, and then after she tells him no like 5 different times and he continues to follow her to her apartment, she eventually says, okay, I'll go out with you. And I would say that reminded me very much of the recruitment of Texas. And he has been like, yeah, I might. No, I'm not. No, I mean, he hasn't been to Texas at all in 2025. We know they've had junior days. We know that they've had unofficial visitors on campus for practices and all of these things. In Texas, typically, if a guy is giving them the homecoming queen treatment, like don't bother, I got a date kind of a thing. They don't. It takes Justice Terry level talent to be told no or maybe or we'll see, and to just keep chipping away and chipping away and chipping away and chipping away. They don't do that for everybody, but they will do that for special prospects. And I think Texas views him as a special prospect.
Gotcha. Speaking of special prospect, this special, Vivek says, catch Atkinson, a true 6-star recruit?
No, he's a 5-star.
Okay. There you go. Vivek, thank you for the question. Got a couple other recruiting questions I like here that we will get to. Let's see. Here's a good question real quick. Is there a date for Atkinson? I have not seen one of those
that
yet.
Thing's been fluid. I'll ask Sukamel. I saw a date and I feel like I saw conflicting information with that.
Yeah, I have not seen a date on him specifically. There is a guy we know the date of that we're going to talk about coming up. If you want to throw us a super chat.
Let me just say again, guys, what I would tell you is the Texas coaching staff doesn't give a fuck about these dates. They do not think they matter. And I told you when Colin Simmons committed to Texas back in August a couple of years ago, they felt the same way. They are more emboldened than ever. Look, these kids are giving commitments. Why are they giving commitments? Because they don't want to have the distraction before their senior seasons. That's really it. That's why all of those Duncanville guys a couple of years ago, Caden Durham, Colin Simmons, DeCorian Moore, they all did it right before practice started so that they could go through their seasons trying to win a state championship, as if that matters. And then not having this question of constantly, where are you going? Where are you going? Where are you going? Even if they don't plan on going there, it works as a great cover for that question is answered. Don't bother me with that. And the schools really believe that for guys that like the guys that we are literally talking about, Atkinson, Lamar Brown,
Quinn.
I don't think Quinn, because I don't think, Texas will find a replacement for Quinn if they don't get him. And I don't know that he's viewed like those guys are, where it's like, well, no matter what, I mean, if I got to go give plasma or sell a kidney from a child, like I got multiple kids kind of a thing, So there are certain guys that will get that treatment, not everybody. And I think that although keep in mind, there's a good chance that Texas might go up to 35 high school kids in this class if, as I think most people expect, the SEC will change its scholarship rules to match what the Big Ten has done, which is to say, it's up to you guys. But there's 105 spots, and we're not telling you that you can't give 105 scholarships. And the Big Ten has looked around at each other and gone,
let's go.
Is Ohio State telling anybody what they're going to do? No. Well, what if they take 105 scholarships? Can we afford not to? I don't think so. And so the Big Ten teams have all scared the crap out of each other.
Yeah.
because they're terrified that they'll let 10 walk-ons on their roster, and then the programs that they're already dominated by will do full 105s. Consequently, the Michigans and Ohio States of the world are like, we keep winning championships, but it looks like Nebraska is going to take 105. Can we only take 95? What if that's the difference between a championship? Can you afford to take the risk? That is the question that they've all asked themselves. And so they're all going to show up pretty damn close to 105 scholarships. And God forbid the Big Ten win a third consecutive national championship. The SEC at that point might change a rule that says every school has to give out 105 scholarships. No more walk-ons.
Yeah, that's wild. I see the chat about Vodney Cleveland. We'll get Ketch to talk about Vodney coming up. Let's hear from one of our great partners, and that is AV Consultations. Here's Tom and Camilla and all the good stuff.
Hey y'all, I'm Camille McKay.
And I'm Tom McKay, owner of Audiovisual Consultations.
The old man and I are here to give you your summer weather forecast. It's hot.
That's right, kid.
Which means it's time for pool parties, grilling burgers, and taking a beach vacation, right?
Well, I don't know about a vacation, but Audiovisual brings more heat than any tropical destination.
It was worth a shot. I'll settle for some outdoor speakers.
You know, Audiovisual can do a lot more than that. We provide outdoor video screens, audio systems, landscape lighting, even solar shades for your patio to keep the Texas heat at bay.
Well, I'm sold. Let's wrap this up. I'm ready to lounge on a floaty and listen to some smooth jazz.
Well, that sounds wonderful, but some smooth reggae is the way to go this summer.
Good thing we can listen to both with the Sonos sound system. I call dibs on the floaty, though. Peace out.
Kid, wait a second. Give us a call at 512-255-8678 or visit us at avconsultations.com. That's 512-255-8678.
The exasperation acting from Tom McKay there is chef's kiss perfect. Well done, Tom. Well done. Yes, Ketch.
Feels like the first time I've seen that spot.
Okay.
Is it the first time we've run it?
First time it's run at all? No, it may have run one other time, but maybe during a modcast.
Okay. 2, sound effects. I enjoyed the shuffling of the feet down a hallway and the shutting of a door.
I'm telling you, full on acting with these two.
And then
remember, Camilla's an actress. Camilla's done some acting. So she's adding a new level.
If Camilla is out with her friends, let's say it's her 4 girlfriends, because it's a girls' day out on Lake Travis or Lake Austin.
Mm-hmm.
But they got a guy driving the boat because he's the guy they torment. They all pretend like he's got a chance, and he hangs around because they're pretty. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That's the situation. Chilling. It's girls' day out on Lake Austin. It's sun. It's fun. And smooth jazz is playing on the lake. That's what she said.
I know. Smooth jazz.
Camilla, I need confirmation. I do. Was that an act? Were you acting? Because I believed your dad about the reggae.
Right. Yeah.
She's young. What is she doing listening to smooth jazz?
I know. The Boston area must have messed her up musically. Something must be happening there. Everybody's got their own feelings. All right, Ketch. Our man Cody Carpentier jumps in with this one. Let me get your reaction here. Apparently, Brandon Arrington, cornerback and athlete, has committed to A&M. How big a deal are we talking here?
Really big deal. He's a good player. He's a fantastic prospect. You're talking about a guy that top 10 prospect in the country from Rivals. You know, he's from California, corner.
I was going to say, okay, so another out of state.
But he's generally viewed as the number 1 or number 2 cornerback in the country by all of the services.
Wow. Big get.
And, you know, I'm looking at it right now. In order, Rivals has him 8th nationally. ESPN has him 14th nationally. On3 has him 27th nationally. 24/7 has him 29th nationally. So everybody has him as a top 30. On3 doesn't currently have him rated as a 5-star, but that's just because they haven't eventually reached. It's one of those things where it's like he's ranked 27th, eventually number 27 in the country. Will get a 5th star. It just hasn't happened yet. So He is a consensus, but not yet unanimous 5-star prospect. It's a tremendous get for Texas A&M, and they continue to put together an elite recruiting class. This isn't unexpected. I think in the last couple of days, there was some real sense that this was trending in A&M's direction. In fact, I can remember looking at some A&M tweets yesterday where it was like, this Brandon Arrington thing is happening. So he's a fantastic prospect.
And it's big. Okay, so just to clarify, unlike some of those lower 4-star guys we've talked about that A&M and OU have recruited that you'd say, hey, quantity might be there, but maybe not quality. You'd say this guy is that high quality, higher 4-star, gonna be a 5-star. That does matter.
This guy's projected to be a future first-round draft pick.
Yeah.
That's what it means when a guy, all of the recruiting services have kind of come around on this. 5 stars is a first-round projection, as best as you can make. So much so that if they rank a guy 25th in the country and he's drafted 25th in the first round, they would be like, we got that exactly right. And if one service ranks a kid 10th and another ranks him 25th, and the kid gets drafted 12th in the first round, the site that ranked him 10th will claim victory. So really, that's the way to think about 5 stars. And consequently, I got into a conversation with somebody the other day that was asking me, they said, I have Jermaine Bishop Jr. ranked as a 5-star. And I think 24/7 does as well. They're the only service that does. And I said, I don't have him ranked in that kind of fashion because I don't look at him as a guy, when you look at his size and frame and kind of the whole package, those guys don't typically get drafted in the first round unless, think about this. He's basically built like Xavier Worthy. Think about what Xavier Worthy ran at the combine, how great of a college player he was and where he got drafted. And he barely got into the first round. And he literally is the fastest human being that's ever run at the combine.
Yeah, you're right. Good point.
So I look at a guy like that and I say, he's not a 5-star because I don't think he'll be one of the first 32 guys. That doesn't mean I don't think he'll be an NFL player. Far from it. It just means that when we talk about 5 stars, so when you say, is this a guy that people should care about? There's a better than 50% chance that this guy will be a drafted NFL player. And there's probably a 10 to 20 times greater chance that he will be a first-round draft pick than any of the other grades he could be given as a prospect. That's the thing about 5 stars. When they hit, they don't hit. They hit in all capital letters, AKA Texas didn't have a 5-star offensive lineman for more than a decade. It got one in Kelvin Banks. Guess what? He hit. And when that hit, it meant award-winning offensive lineman at the college level, first-round draft pick in college. So A&M, if this sticks, because again, we are now in this era where it is still very early. And look, A&M can find themselves in a position like this, what we talked about. Well, what if Texas or Georgia gets to November and December and they've got a stack of commitments? Hey, man, if you want one of those commitments, there's a way to make it happen.
Yeah, like somebody in the chat just said, now A&M's got to protect this for about 5 months. Cody Carpenter.
And whoever said that could have been Steve Sarkisian.
Yep.
Because I say it all the time, Sarkisian does not like early commitments. He wants to always be able to be aggressive. And the moment a kid commits to you, just by definition, the definition of what's transpired, you're now playing on defense instead of offense because every school now is recruiting specifically against you, as opposed to it's just different when things are a little more open and a guy hasn't committed. Think about the Justice Terry recruitment. At no point in that recruitment would anybody have ever come to him and gone, Texas? Why? And then, thought long and hard about it. And there's a lot of different ways to tell a story. Do you see how many guys they got? They're just going to go out and get JUCO guys, or they're going to go out into the port. Why would you go to Texas? They're not going to play you early. You see how many guys in the portal they got? You know what I mean? Like, eventually, those things work when you hear it from 10 different coaching staffs every day. Mm-hmm. Hey, man, think about this. If Chad had 10 friends a day, every day, in his ear going, hey, man, you really let Wendy drive that bus? Have you seen the men at the bus station? These dudes are all like these are like Leos and Clooney's. And hey, man, all I'm saying is I was around. They were hanging out, like getting coffee. All I'm telling you is this George Clooney looking bus guy looked like he was talking to Wendy. If 10 people told him that every day, Chad would start off and be like, hey, man, Wendy and I have been together forever. She ain't, I trust me. I know my wife. It's not a thing. But if like, I don't know, 10 days straight of that occurred and 10 different people all said it, and then it was like 100 times it happened, it'd be unavoidable. Chad wouldn't be able to help it. He'd have to think, what the fuck is happening at the bus station? What's happening at my wife's job? Why do people keep bringing this up? It's the same thing with recruiting. When you get the commitment, and you know what this kid will hear for the next 6 months committed to A&M? Why are you going to A&M? They're not even a playoff program. They're going to waste you. Did you see what they did with the 2022 recruiting class? Did you see what happened to this guy and that guy? And in addition to being like, our guys develop NFL talent better, and look at all of the resume, and we're in the playoffs, and they're not even the top school in Texas. Like, God, you know what USC's telling that kid right now? Look. Okay, if you're not going to go to us, cool. We can live with that. But you're going to go to the second best program in Texas? I'm sorry, the third best program in Texas, because SMU's been to the playoff last year. That's what you're doing? Now, that kid may go, hey, man, you know what talks? $3 million. I'll go play for the freaking Taliban for $3 million, and I might agree with him at that point. But you hear that 10 times a day, and eventually you will second guess yourself a little bit. And that is the thing about these early commitments. It does open the door up for eventual doubt. Doubt can click in. And look, I literally did that stream of conscious for Brandon Arrington, right? Like, imagine that you've got days and weeks and months to sit around and think about, how do we chip away? Wait till A&M. Who does A&M have in the season opener, Chad?
UTSA.
Who's the big one they play?
Notre Dame.
That is at home? Is it Notre Dame?
On the road.
Oh, man, let them lose that game. And then it's like, you'll have schools that contact him and go, hey, man, they played Notre Dame twice. Texas could call and go, dude, we beat Notre Dame with Tyrone Swoops playing quarterback. Like, what do you do? You know what I mean? Like, there's always these little things. And what won't happen is every time he gets a call from an opposing coach, they won't go, hey, man, did you catch that A&M game this weekend? They really beat the crap out of UTSA. You had to be happy. That's not what happens.
All right. After that analogy and that thought process,
has anybody ever done that to you, Chad? Like, hey, man, you got to watch out for that Leo DiCaprio guy at working the buses.
Yeah, I feel like I need a drink, and they've got them at Hayes City Store in Driftwood. FM 150. We've told you about these frozen margarita flights, and you can mix it up. As you can see there, a little pina colada, a little Kentucky frozen coffee. Definitely sounds good. Plus all the great food that we talk about out at Hayes City Store, the bacon jam burger, or those great pork chops, or the pizza, or the chicken fried steak. My God, if you haven't had a chicken fried steak in a while, this one will call you back over and over again. I promise. Tell them you heard about it on Orange Bloods Live. Travis, Tamara, and the crew are ready for you at Hayes City Store. All right.
Hey, if Wendy had 10 people a day telling her that you and I were having a torrid love affair together, how many times do you think she would need to hear that after how many days for her to go, you know what? Those two do look at each other weird sometimes.
Considering where I live and where you live, she'd need to hear it for 100 days in a row.
What if it was Sherry, though? And Sherry was like, girl, my spidey senses are going off. Something about that Ketchum guy can't be trusted. I'm just saying.
Yeah, well, I mean, Sherry already does that, but it'd be about a month.
Okay, that's all I was wondering. At some point, Wendy would go, okay, I have to ask Chad about this.
Right. No, it would happen. And I definitely want, I was going to ask you about this, the whole Chase mindset of this thing. And now you have a name like this get added into it, an out-of-state guy that ends up committing to A&M, just like we talked about the other day with who was the other guy that just, KJ Edwards, of course, that just committed, and a guy that maybe chased late. So people jumped in the chat and somebody said, not that they're freaked out, but that they would like to see a commitment go Texas's way just to make them feel a little bit better. So let's throw the name Vodney Cleveland out here. PLL Superfan Forever says, how confident are you in us getting Vodney Cleveland? Cleveland is a big D tackle out of the state of Alabama, if I'm not mistaken, and he's going to choose catch. This is weird scheduling. He was at Texas last weekend. He's going to Miami this weekend, but he's also announcing the commitment on Saturday.
Kids, crazy kids.
How good? Give me the level discussion though. Vodney Cleveland, I see number 5 D tackle in the country. That sounds impressive to me. How impressive is he to you?
He's really good. He's not quite a super blue chip. And that distinction matters, right? It's a little bit like being pregnant. You're either pregnant or you're not. And
right. So you're telling me Atkinson and Lamar Brown are up here and he's not.
Correct. But
okay.
He's really good. You're talking about a guy who's at that next tier below that. And honestly, when we're talking about, look, how confident am I that Texas will get him? I just made a future cast for Texas. So there you go. And I don't do these. I'm only 60% confident or I'm 70% confident. Like, I'm telling you, the school's going to get a guy. So I'm not a big believer in, I either do or I don't. It is very much, do I think Texas is pregnant with Vodney Cleveland, or do I not think they're pregnant with Vodney Cleveland? And I think they're knocked up with Vodney Cleveland. So I gave them a future cast.
There you go. All right. Vodney
Just
Cleveland.
So you know.
Saturday. All right. Supercast. It is in future cast. I was about to say supercast. No, we want super chats. Catch was just talking about future.
But I will say, hey, 24. I have a feeling that we will see his ranking meet. Everything will come together. This kid will get evaluated through the rest of the summer. There's been spring evaluation. You'll see him as a senior, postseason all-star games. There's just these, he'll get seen. 24/7 has him ranked 52nd in the nation. So that's super blue chip territory. Mm-hmm. Rivals has him at 153. ESPN has him at 201. On3 does not have him in their top 300. And to give you some perspective on this, they have him as the number 24 defensive lineman, and Rivals in 24/7 him as the number 5 defensive tackle. So there's a pretty big gap, but 24/7 has him in super blue chip territory. So if I was doing, he wouldn't be a consensus super blue chip because he doesn't have 2 companies that have listed him like that. But there are only 2 Texas commitments right now that are listed as a super blue chip by any of the services. So he would be like the 3rd highest rated commit in this class. So, I mean, it would be a big deal. This is not one that you'd throw back necessarily because you think there's a bigger fish. There aren't many bigger fish than him.
Gotcha. All right. So that'll be a big deal on Saturday if Texas gets Vodney Cleveland. Real quick, since he's just visiting Miami, Miami's getting the last say, but if it's not Texas, a sense for who it might be?
I think it's going to be Texas.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. All right, Catch. One other
question. I'm not convinced that visit takes place.
One question kind of wrapping us back around to Dre Quinn. This came in early, and I just wanted your thoughts. And so did Vivek. Catch. Is Carlton better than Dre Quinn?
Because he's physically profiles better than Quinn. He's a non-tweener. He's taller than 6'4", and he is currently like 240 and above. Like he fits the physical profile that you're looking for. And honestly, it's so one-sided that it's hard. You literally have to look at a guy and say he's a freak of all freaks to justify ranking a classic edge tweener over a guy that hits the physical measurables and you think is that level of player. It's a little bit like the YouTube meetings that we've had, Chad. Like, the data is telling you something. And you can tell yourself, nah, screw the data. I know better. You're probably going to be more wrong than you are right in those situations. And I think it's the same way with recruiting. Like, there's just no getting. Now, look, if Carlton were an inch and a half shorter and 20 pounds lighter, I would go, they're the same guy.
Right.
They're not, though. And their values aren't the same.
Yeah, Jamarion Carlton, the stud out of Temple, and July 10th is his commitment date as of right now, in case you are following that story. All right, Catch. I know there were a couple other things we talked about, but we are a little over the hour point. You want to save those things for another show and get buy or sell? Or do you want to try to? Okay. You want to go first or second?
But not because I don't want to do them. We started like 40 minutes late.
No, I know, but we had some stuff to talk about. So for tomorrow, for like a Friday show, there may be maybe some Jonah Williams updating to do. Maybe there's a Dia Bell conversation to have. We'll do some of that tomorrow. You want to go first or second?
Second.
All right.
Because I didn't have a chance to get my questions in today for about 8,000 different reasons.
Yeah, you did. You had a lot of things going on. I appreciate you making it work and rebooting as many times as you did. All right, Catch, just to clarify for those that may be checking out the end here, buy or sell number one, Dre Quinn, the edge out of Georgia, not quite a super blue chip for you.
Buy. And I think we've outlined the reasoning.
Yeah. All right, Catch, buy or sell number two. Here's A&M's opponents. You've got 8 wins. I laid them all out there for you. UTSA, Utah State, the games at Notre Dame, and then so on. If you can't read them, tell me, but 8 wins, buy or sell.
Sell.
You like a 7?
Yeah. Here's how I went. 1-0, 2-0, 2-1. 3-1, although I thought of Auburn games is more 60-40 than it is like 70-30. So I've got them 3-1 and then 4-1.
Mm-hmm.
And then I gave them 5-1. And then I'm giving them 6-1, which I think I've been very generous to just, but then I'm 6-2, 7 no, I've got them losing one of those Florida and Arkansas games, losing to LSU, beating Missouri, losing to South Carolina, beating Samford, losing to Texas. Then I came up with 7-5.
7-5. Okay. Catch number 3, buy or sell.
You beat Florida at home. If you sweep that Florida, and we all know that A&M usually beats Arkansas. So if you can swing that home game and win that Arkansas game, I will bump you up to 8-4. And I think that's completely doable. But I do think that Auburn game is potentially tricky.
Yeah. Oh, no doubt. By the way, Catch, I put these in chronological order. This is the schedule in order. You know how Texas has that October, the whole month away from home? The Aggies have a month away from home too. That Florida game is October 11th. That South Carolina game is November 15th.
Wow.
So both of the house divided schools will experience that, where they go away from home.
Them 2 wins on the road there during that stretch.
Yeah, it's a very important stretch. To me, they have to win at Arkansas and Missouri.
Yeah.
Because you can't give them Tiger Stadium. But the other 2, they got to go get them. They've got to go win those 2 games if they're going to have the kind of season Elko thinks they're going to have.
I think you have to look at, Matt Brown and coaches do a real good job of blocking these games off. And I think A&M's got a block of 4 games, right? So you have your opening 3 games, UTSA, Utah State, in the first part of that schedule. That 3 block is Notre Dame.
Mm-hmm.
So those first 2 games are leading up to Notre Dame, and that kind of climax is there. And when that's over with, you're going to the second stage of the season, and you're talking to your team about Auburn, Mississippi State, and Florida, all home games.
Yep.
3 back-to-back-to-back 3-0 in those games. That's our goal. We want to make the playoffs. We have to win our home games if we're going to make the playoffs. And when that's over with, now it's those 3 road games. That is that's a stretch of games. And you go realistically, guys, because we've handled our business, we need to go 2-1. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And because I think at that point, you're hoping you only have 1 loss. So 2-1 means you go into that home stretch of 2 home games and then you end at Texas. You kind of got to take those one at a time. South Carolina, and who cares about Samford? But if you're going to make the playoffs, I think you got to break those down, and it does shape up easily into fragments of 3, almost conveniently. But I think if you're a playoff team, you'll talk to your team about, look, we've got a really hard schedule, but this is our goal. And instead of, we think we got to at least be 10-2, which is improvement over what we were a year ago. Our minimum level of improvement that we are setting for ourselves is we got to get to 10 wins. And you know what that means? It doesn't mean we can't win them all. It doesn't mean that we can't play for the Southeast Conference Championship, but it means we need to be realistic and look at the schedule and say, let's not freak out if something happens during this stretch. We're going to build it in. We're going to build in on the road. There's a chance we might lose one of those games. But you know what? We're cool. But we got to win 2 of them. Because if we don't, the 10-2 dream is probably going to die. And I think if you're Elko, that's how you have to view this schedule. You have to view we got to get to 10-2 and be in the playoff. And we got to take these in blocks. And I do think that the Notre Dame game is the 3rd game and not the 1st or 2nd game helps. And I think the same thing about the way it shapes up at the end, with Texas at the end of a 3-game stretch, South Carolina at the beginning of that stretch. Because if you're A&M, after 3 straight road games, you take on the freaking Marines, like the real Marines at home, if it means you're back home. They'll be so thirsty and starved to be back home that it's probably good to have a tough opponent to start that 4th stretch of games. Samford is just making sure you're healthy for Texas.
All right, before I leave it, the Notre Dame game, the Florida game, LSU and Texas. Right now, from what you laid out, you have them 0-4 in those games?
No, I have them winning. The losses I have for them are Texas, South Carolina, LSU, Notre Dame, and 1 of Florida and Arkansas.
Gotcha. So maybe it's 1-3 in those games. Gotcha. Okay. All right, Catch. How about tonight? Buy or sell? Oklahoma City wins the title and SGA gets the MVP.
Buy. Yep.
Feels like it's ending tonight. Yeah.
We've been right about this series. Oklahoma City is inevitable this season. It's taking 1 more game to get there than I thought. And it doesn't help that Indiana's getting to the finish line banged up, injured. This makes me feel old. But I can remember watching NBA finals where it's like, oh, Isaiah pulled his hamstring. They're done.
Right.
Oh, Magic's hurt.
It's been our whole lives, Catch. Like for the people that will watch this kind of a series and think, well, when does that happen in the NBA? All the time.
Yeah.
All the time it happens. Just ask Kevin Durant.
Yeah.
When stuff can happen, it'll affect an entire series, and you have to talk about it. All right, Catch. Buy or sell number 4. Speaking of the SEC, you enjoyed watching another Arkansas baseball team get kicked square in the nuts by the baseball gods. Buy or sell?
I've had a lot of time to think about this.
Mm-hmm.
My first reaction was, I remember I even tweeted this last night. What would you begin to tell an Arkansas baseball fan right now?
Right.
And I was like, it would be soul crushing if it wasn't so damn funny. But then I thought about it a little bit more, and I do ache for the left fielder.
Oh my God. Yeah.
That is, we can say things like, well, it doesn't have to be the thing that defines his life. And then I think of a guy like Craig Curry.
Yep.
And it's like, I bet there were dudes on January 1st, 1983 that were like, man, people will forget this.
84,
you're good. Like, hey, man, stuff happens.
Yeah.
People probably told Bill Buckner that. Like, hey, man, there's still another game.
Right. The only people that will tell him that for the rest of his life are his teammates.
Yeah.
His teammates know it. They'll help him through it. Like Jackie Smith's teammates helped him through it, but not the rest of the world. The rest of the world looks at you a certain way.
And I've never seen that before, so I won't forget it. Like, if he just dropped the ball, I could forget that.
Right. And only one run scores there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't explain what happened.
No, I don't like them at all, Catch. You know me. I never root for Arkansas, but that one and the pop fly when they were about to win the title, like that's just something I don't even know. I almost feel bad feeling good about it. So
that's what I'm saying. Like, it was funny, but then afterwards I was like, you know what? Actually, that's so bad that it's not funny.
Right. It's also treacherous. It's so treacherous. And keep in mind, Catch, there's something in my heart because I'm a Rangers fan. I'm a Texas Rangers fan. So to get that close, now they weren't that close last night, but to get that close and have it taken from you and feel like the baseball gods hate you, I know what that feeling is. So I kind of feel for Arkansas fans.
There are still Texas fans that are pissed off about what happened at Stanford a few years ago in the lights.
Oh, yeah. Right.
They'll like that is don't bring that up, Chad.
Oh, yeah. No, I wouldn't bring it up, but at least that's
I know.
Right, it's on the way.
This
is you make a basic play and you get one more game to stay alive. And yeah, I don't even.
Man, all I can tell you is we all forget how hard it can be to be like 20 years old or 21 years old and be that guy's thought about being in that moment his entire life.
Yeah.
When the ball came off of that bat, he took a false step and panicked. That's all it was.
Yeah.
He had more time than he thought. Although it was a hard hit ball, but he had time to recover. But dude, the adrenaline's happening. The moment of if I catch this ball, we win. It gets me. And that guy will be 100 years old, man. And like, it'll be like at the end, on his deathbed, he'll be like Rosebud.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And we'll all know, like, what did Rosebud mean? It had something to do with 2025 in Omaha. It never stopped bugging him. Like, it just sucks.
Yep.
I
would have sold this one, and I never would have thought of it that I would, but I'd have sold it too.
I felt dirty about my tweet this morning. I was like,
it's tough, man.
I thought, what if that guy, I just found myself thinking that guy's going to go home and tweet, like, search Arkansas or his mom or his sister or his brother. And
right. Yeah, they should all get off social media. Arkansas baseball fans should be off social media for the next month.
You just would rather lose 25-1.
Absolutely.
Than to lose like that.
Yeah, that's where some fans don't understand it when you say that. But if you watch enough sports, there are moments where you have that feeling. Because at least if you lose that game 8-0, you got to do a ton of stuff to overcome that. This one you had to do one thing. I got my
ass kicked a lot in high school on the teams I played in, Chad. Those games don't haunt you. You weren't as good. They just beat you.
Yep.
Like, and as you get older, you really can live with that. The idea that, hey, I lost a race to Donovan Bailey.
Yeah. No, and I've told you, like, go back to me.
Bolt went to high school with me. Guess what? I wasn't on the varsity track team.
Yeah. I said it earlier, Catch. I'm a Texas Ranger fan. You know what haunts me. You know that 2011 haunts me. Tim Lincecum doesn't haunt me. They beat them. They beat the Rangers. Okay. I can live with that. It's the other one you can't live with. That's the other one that drives you nuts. All right, finally, Catch, we got a birthday both of us will appreciate. Today, Felicia Rashad is 77 years old, prime on prime. She's hotter than both women that played Aunt Vivian on Fresh Prince.
That's an easy buy for me.
Okay.
I mean,
it is for me as well. One of them is competitive, but neither of them gets there.
Felicia Rashad was a smoke show. Like, I can remember when Ahmad Rashad popped the question.
Oh, yeah. On the NFL show.
And I just remember at the time being a young kid and seeing that at that point they explained who Felicia Rashad was. And it was just like, oh, okay, good job, Ahmad. No wonder you asked on national television. You got to do what you got to do, man. Good job.
Yeah, that was big.
No offense to any of the other women in this equation, but like only one of them got proposed on national television, and it felt like that was justified.
Heck yeah. All right, there's my buy or sell catch. What do you got?
Buy or sell, number one, Oklahoma City will win in 6 tonight. They'll beat Indiana, and you won't historically think of Oklahoma City as an all-time great team, despite all the wins and despite being fairly dominant in the postseason.
That's probably a buy. They're going to need to probably make another run. I don't know if they need another title, but they'll need to continue to build on this one if I'm going to say all-time great team. But I'm really happy for a team like this. I love when the young talent gets a chance to get in the ring club, and I dig SGA. I like the way he carries himself. I like the interviews. He's so freaking smooth, and I love that guy's going to get a ring. Plus Chet Holmgren, plus my man Caruso, the Aggie that was with the Lakers and now is going to get a second ring, Mr. Headband. So I'm kind of happy for Oklahoma City, but no, they don't feel all time to me right now.
Buy or sell, number two, Arch got invited to the cookout while he was in St. Louis. As a white guy, when you hear that Arch Manning went to St. Louis and got invited to the cookout, in your mind, that makes him cooler.
Oh yeah, buy. Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. We all know the Mannings have that like sneaky cool. It's not obvious cool sometimes with the Mannings, but this is just extra validation, and you want to know that. You want to know that Arch is accepted. Arch lives in a world where you think he's going to be pretty damn good. He might be really good. He might be unbelievably good, but we also know that, there's he's in a diverse world where he's got to get all these different types of folks from different backgrounds to follow him. And that tells me that, he's got those kind of points. So that is good to hear. I'd love to hear that if I'm a Texas fan, that 16 was at the barbecue.
You want your quarterback invited to cookouts.
Oh, my God. Yes.
It's as simple as that.
You have to have it to be that way because you want them. Here's the one this example I always use, Catch. You want everybody on your football team to look at your quarterback the way Michael Irvin looked at Troy Aikman. That's it. That's the end of the sentence for me, because Michael Irvin would have taken a bullet for number 8 back in the day. That's what you want from your teammates.
Yep. Yeah. You ever got a cookout invite? You ever been to like a Juneteenth celebration at the park, invited to the cookout?
Juneteenth celebration specifically, no. Have I gotten a cookout invite? Yes, I have. And I showed up, and the host was surprised I showed up. I said, you said there'd be ribs, so I showed, and we had a great time, and the food was excellent.
I'm a regular at cookouts, have been forever. So I need more invites, though. I've become a little bit of a hermit crab, and my cookout invites have dwindled, but they still go down.
There you go.
In fact, I think I'm going to go to a cookout in July. Buy or sell, number 3. C.J. Mosley, 5-time Pro Bowl linebacker, retiring from the NFL today. He's 33. It's always weird to me when 33 years old, retired. It's like, man, that's bonkers.
Yeah, good for him.
You know where C.J. Mosley went to college?
I believe this is a buy. Mosley's a Bama guy.
You didn't let me finish my question.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And you know where he was ranked in high school?
Where he was ranked?
Yeah, what level of prospect he was.
Okay. I will say CJ Mosley. It's Bama, and I'm going to say he was a 5-star.
Wrong. It was a trick question. That was the only way you could answer it. And it was, I brought it up because I thought he was a 5-star, and I went back and looked it up, and he wasn't. He was a mid 4-star, but he was 56th nationally, which
damn it. See, I was going to say, would you have given me credit if I'd guessed high 4-star?
I would have.
Okay. I was about to do it
because he did fall into a ranking that is traditionally high 4-star.
I went against my gut there. I was going to go high 4-star, and then I just thought, well, it's got to be a 5-star. It's Mosley. It's Bama. And then, all right.
And what's funny is 6'2", 212. that falls exactly in Orange Bloods. People make fun of me all the time because I did a linebacker analysis breakdown, and there's a sweet spot for linebackers where their height is between 6'1" and 6'3", and they weigh between 210 and Chad 218 pounds. Don't ask me why 218 is so specific and why somebody couldn't be 219 or 220. I don't make the rules. I just read them out. Right. And CJ Mosley, 6'2", 212 is in the sweet spot for linebackers. For all of you watching right now, every time a linebacker commits, if he's between 6'1" and 6'3", between 210 and 218, yeah, baby, you're cooking with grease.
There it is.
I'm just telling you, that's the sweet spot.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
And finally, buy or sell number 5. It's a game of hotter than.
Okay.
I'm going Felicia Rashad as well.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Felicia Rashad in her prime, hotter than her daughter in her prime from the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, whose name I'm going to need to look up.
Wait, her daughter from
the older daughter, not the younger daughter, because that's creepy. And I don't care if she's grown up now. Karen Parsons, who played Hillary Banks.
The stuck-up big sister.
Yeah.
Felicia
Rashad, hotter than the actress Karen Parsons, who played Hillary Banks.
Wow.
And I'm just letting you know, I was a big Karen Parsons, Hillary Banks.
Yeah. She's great. We're talking, this is actress on actress here, not character on character, correct?
Actress on actress.
Whew. Man, that's an interesting one. See, like my personal preference would be Felicia Rashad, but we're trying to have a man's discussion here.
I'm telling you, it's a battle.
It really is.
But I did a Google search on both women, young, sexy.
Yeah. You know what?
Because I wanted to make sure that I was apple on apple kind of a thing and not apples to oranges.
Yeah, it's a hell of a battle. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to buy, 1, it's her birthday. 2, I'm a huge fan. I'm a mark. But I'm going to go with the eye smile combo and say Felicia gets her at the tape with the eye smile combo. It's a little sultrier. It's a little sexier in its prime than what she had going on, but it's damn close. I'm taking Felicia on her birthday. I'm buying.
You're right. It's the right answer. But it isn't the smile. It's the Felicia Rashad smirk. Chad, go to your teams, okay? I would put this up full screen if I could. I can't. Actually, do we have a bill to pay?
It's that look. We actually do not. We're good.
We're completely good?
We are completely good.
I'm going to filibuster for a second while I load the photo that I'm talking about into the.
Fair enough.
I want you to see what I'm talking about, okay?
All right. Catch is going to load up a picture of the Felicia Rashad smirk. I think I know what he's talking about. Yes. When Felicia Rashad had a smile without teeth that was sexier than most women with teeth. And that's hard to do. That's a very difficult thing to do. By the way, this is a strange group of people out there, but I just want to speak to them real quick, Catch. To you, maybe men are like this too, but to the women out there that don't like to smile with your teeth and you have a really nice smile, what the hell are y'all doing? What are y'all doing? Have you encountered these people, Catch? The women who don't like to smile with their teeth. Some guys are like this too. They're self-conscious. They think they have bad teeth. And then you start, oh, good Lord. I mean,
hey, man.
Did I guess right or what? I'm going to give a slow clap for me and Felicia Rashad.
Every single one of our wives would be they'd have to just concede defeat.
My goodness gracious.
If Felicia Rashad's giving you that look.
Oh, mercy.
Hey, man, it's the best day of your life.
Mercy, mercy, mercy. There is.
You answered the right. It wasn't the smile. She has a sexy, bedroom eyes look.
But no, again, technically, it's all of that. It is
She's telling you, Chad, you're the man with that look.
Yeah, no, she is fantastic. That woman, that woman has only one flaw as far as I'm concerned, and it has to do with her co-star on the show. But
you know what? Felicia Rashad needed us to give her that little bit of pump up. You know, like I feel like the youngins out there, the Cosby Show is so old that they're like, isn't that the woman that was Michael B. Jordan's mom in the Creed movies? And it's like,
right.
yes, but I do not want you to know her from that.
Right.
I want you to know when she was young and vivacious and in her peak, and she made men collapse.
Right. And she's been kind of probably forgotten a little bit, sadly, because of the whole Bill situation. And that's not fair to her either.
So I'm glad we were able to have a Felicia Rashad segment on the show today.
There you go. Happy 77 to Felicia.
You don't ever know. If you make it an hour and a half into our show, you have to know by the 90-minute mark.
Yeah. Things are going to get weird.
Things are
going to get weird. If whatever I give Ketch as the last buy or sell, it's going to turn into something. It rarely doesn't turn into something. And Felicia Rashad's birthday. Yesterday it was Aerosmith. Today it was Felicia Rashad. Today Ketch feels a little better at the end of the show about Felicia Rashad than he did yesterday.
I'm happy.
Yeah. All right.
I think that's all. I feel like even my Google search led me to a safe, comfortable place. I'm happy I saw that photo.
That's a beautiful. What a photograph! My God, yeah, she's just incredible. And I'm glad that in certain spots, certain channels, that show is getting shown again. At least so we can appreciate everybody else that's in that show, and other than the star. All right, thanks for liking, subscribing, getting your notifications, and we appreciate all the support. Check out all the good stuff at Orange Bloods Live, and again, upper left corner. Join OB today. It's Thursday. It's War Room night. Ketch told you he's going to have some great notes on the War Room. Sign up today. Get into orangebloods.com. You'll get a War Room. Great way to get you started. And we'll be back tomorrow for a Friday. Big recruiting weekend coming in for Texas with all these visitors, Tyler Atkinson and others. And we'll get into some other mess. You just never know what it's going to be. And who knows, by tomorrow, A&M may have gotten another commit that will freak out a bunch of Texas fans and make them think the Aggies have too much money. We'll see. You guys have a great day, and we will be back tomorrow. Please cross your fingers for Ketch's Wi-Fi tomorrow. Y'all take care. See ya.